Well, we welcome you to the Priscilla R. Tyson Cultural Arts Center for our Conversations and Coffee program on this 29th day of June. I'm Ellen O'Shaughnessy, coordinator of the program, and we're delighted to have with us today our guest artists calling us to celebrate their art in this beautiful exhibit, Water is Life. The show is curated by Tom Balliol, instructor in painting here at the Cultural Arts Center, with April Tsunami, mixed media artist. Gaye, Rob, Catherine, Katrina, we are so grateful. And take a minute to celebrate the individuals here. Gaye Reissland is an art activist in Columbus here, where she received her degree in cross-disciplinary studies at Ohio Dominican University. Her work has been exhibited in many galleries throughout the country and internationally. Gaye is the recipient of several awards, including the Daniel Rudd Award for Excellence and the Queen Brooks Award for Artistic Excellence. Gaye's work is part of the permanent collection of the Columbus Metropolitan Library and the Greater Columbus Arts Council. Gaye shares that her hope is that her art serves commonalities and bridges the gap between us and them. For many years, Gaye has desired to be part of a movement that would preserve and provide drinking water for those who do not have access to it. She shares that we must acknowledge that Mother Earth is 70% water, and our bodies are 70% as well. Without this perfect balance, we, with the birds, the bees, the flowers, the fishes of the sea, cease to exist. And we're grateful to Gaye, who's brought her Dominican sisters with us. Yeah, she's the activity director, right? And created an art show entitled Art with Heart. And if the sisters are in the middle of it with you, art is truly heart. Sister Aggie, Sister Cathy, we're so glad to have you with us. Rob, W stands for? William Jones is an artist educator from Columbus. He's been teaching elementary art in the Olentangy School District for 16 years. Rob has been exhibiting art since graduating from Kent State in 1998. He has a lifelong affection for all things water, and he enjoys sharing this passion for the aquatic life with his sons. I was hoping they were going to join you today. Together they enjoy stomping around creeks, streams, rivers, ponds, and lakes, thereby finding treasures and inspiration, enjoying the freedom from screens and picking up trash along the way. Yay for Rob and his sons. Catherine Bell Smith, an environmental artist noted for her innovative process of creating nature mosaics from bark and sea pods, and her large-scale installations involving leaves, pods, and vines. Wonderful images. She shares that she collaborates with nature and creates her art by collecting, saving, and preserving the stuff that's raked up, blown away, or crushed underfoot. You've given me a whole new perspective as I'm walking through things. The simple act of gathering is where the work begins. Catherine's inclusion of recycled plastics, interwoven with materials, illustrates how purposeful awareness may lead to a deeper understanding of how we can work with, rather than conquer world. There's an innocent and elemental treasure and pleasure in simply filling my pockets with those treasures. What I have learned, she says, about these materials is that it keeps me fascinated and inspired to harness their potential and use them as my tools. Always present is landscape as imagery on the surface of a form, or as the form itself circling back to where I begin picking up things and putting them in my pocket. Wow, you can tell us about that as you share your work. Catherine co-directed Sign Your Art, a street art project, which can be found at the Google Cultural Institute. She developed the community event Columbus Open Studio and Stage. Catherine holds a Master of Fine Arts degree in sculpture from Ohio State University and a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from Bowling Green State University. Katrina Fuller, an artist administrator and educator with Transit Arts with Youth Arts program. Her creative works are focused on visual art, poetry, music. Katrina has for 9 years developed a passion for uplifting and promoting youth artists. We were just talking together how hard it is with youth to get their work schedules into creating art. But you're doing it, right? You are one of the 4 winners of the citywide Art Makes Columbus Promo West exhibit competition. You have created murals throughout Columbus, and your works have been shown in multiple Columbus galleries, including the King Arts Complex, McConnell Arts Center, Block Fort, and here at the Cultural Arts Center. Katrina writes, people radiate vibration and color, creating their patterns that reflect their personalities. Her poems were recently published in Candor, From Poetry to Prose. Katrina, Gaye, Catherine, Rob, you contemplate the gift of water and life through the amazing grace of your art. Thank you for being with us. So take it away and share with us these amazing gifts of art you have. Okay, you want to start?
Sure. So I don't have anything to share on the screen because I had some technical difficulties.
Here, why don't you stand up here to see?
Stand up?
Yeah, do you want to use the
All right.
podium?
Sure, I'll use the podium.
Yeah.
But I do have several pieces in the show, and I could maybe talk about them. As Ellen had mentioned, I have a passion for working with water, just making water available to people, because I know there are many places on earth where water is not, drinkable water is not readily available to people. In fact, one of the projects that we work on at the Mother House, we crochet these socks. They're called water filtration socks. And they get sent all around the world, particularly in Haiti. And these women have these little filtration things that they're like $60 a pop, and they're made out of, I think, PVC pipe, but they break very easily. So these things that we crochet act as armor for these little water filtration things. So it's a passion of mine, and it's something that sisters just, they kick so many of them out per year. It's a wonderful thing, wonderful service that we provide. But that was one of the things that we had in our Art with Heart show. And the reason why is because one time I had a water main break in front of my house, and it happened on a Friday. And the water department didn't get back to my house until Monday. And I didn't have water for an entire weekend. Woo, an entire weekend, but it was like hell. And so that happening to me just for one little teeny weeny 48 hours made me passionate about trying to get drinkable, usable water to people. And so one of the things that I do recognize is that we do have to take care of Mother Earth. She'll take care of us. It's secular, so. One of the pieces that I did was, not the first one, but the second one over there is called All That Glitters Is Not Gold. I was watching a documentary.
You want to go up to that and
Sure,
point out?
I'll go up to it.
Yeah.
I was watching a documentary. It's this piece here. I can't even remember what station it was on, but it was called Plastic Island. And so they kind of talk to you about the issue with pollution and so forth, and how so much of our water is polluted with plastic. And you're thinking, oh, you're going to see this big island, maybe as big as this building. But what it is it's teeny little itsy bitsy micro pieces of plastic that are floating throughout the water that the fish are taking in, and all the sea life is taken in. And I love seafood. And we're taking it in, so we really have to think in terms of not using, what I'm using today, plastic, but think about using metal. It's better for you to drink out of metal anyway, by the way. It's good for you, the minerals and things. Glass, instead of crushing this plastic up and, it landing in the ocean. And I have grandchildren, and I'm terrified for them, what they're taking in and what's going to happen in the future. So, Mother Earth is a delicate, and I feel like we really, really, really need to take care of her. And I know that's been a battle. I have another piece that I did years ago, and it's actually on the other side of the gallery. It's called Water is Life, and it has a Native American woman who is standing in the water.
Is this the one we're looking at across?
It is. It's across the gallery.
Well, that's beautiful.
And I so admire indigenous peoples and Native people and the way they have always been reverent to the earth. And we really do need to listen to these people because they get it. They get it. They have this simpatico going on with the earth that, as I said again, we take care of Mother Nature, she'll take care of us. And so I guess that's really all I have to say about
tell us how you created that artistically, how you painted that.
So there's a certain technique called pouring. I'm horrible at it. I'm really not good at pouring. There are probably all kinds of colors in there that don't show up. I've never really figured out how to do it. So I would do these pours, and I would just leave them, and I'm like, well, you know what? That looks like water to me. It's speaking to me.
Yeah.
And it spoke to me, and I was thinking, and then I saw a picture of this beautiful Native American woman, and I said, she belongs there. The background, with a lot of my work, like I work on wood sometimes. Sometimes the canvas, sometimes the wood will speak to the artist. I don't know if that happens with you all, but it happens with me. And it'll tell you, you're finished. You're not quite finished. Okay, put her there or put him there. My canvases generally tell me, put the underserved people there, people who are not represented in art. I have a lot of African American women in my art. I have a lot of elderly people in my artwork as well. Like I love wrinkles, the stories they tell. I don't love them on me so much, but in my artwork I do love it. So anyhow, I just think we need to take care of the earth, take care of each other, and I try really through my artwork to make statements and really try and have them speak to people, have you kind of reflect and maybe move and do something to make the world better, to bring us together, to take care of the earth, to take care of each other.
Thank you, Gaye.
You're welcome.
Gaye Reissland.
Wonderful. You want to
one holding that baby is also yours, correct?
It is, yeah. Oh, yeah,
Great.
thank you.
You want to give that microphone to Rob? Aha, there's one.
All right. Thanks for coming, everybody. My name is Rob Jones, and I did the kind of found object artwork that's over here. So, gosh, I don't know. I grew up around the water when I was a kid. I had a lot of free reign in the country in rural Holmes County. I had grandparents that owned a cabin up in Canada. So I would spend a lot of time, most of my summers up there, just run around, fishing, swimming, all those things. So I really enjoy freshwater particularly. I mean, beaches are cool, but I think I don't know. I like being able to see the bottom of things, see the bottom of the creeks and rivers and streams and all that stuff. So when I was asked to do this project by April, gosh, I don't know, my head went a million different directions. Do I take it on a personal level, which I ended up doing? You could take it on a microscopic level, which I kind of did with the samples of water from various local streams. We have the Scioto River. We have the actual confluence, like right in the middle of the Scioto and the Olentangy, and then the Olentangy River. So you could take it to the microscopic level. I don't know, like my mind was just going 100 different directions. And then I started thinking about the big global picture and how, there's debates and fights and politics of water, which is crazy because we all need it and it's lots of places, and why can't people have access to it and all, I don't know. So just all these different things are going through my head. And it was very overwhelming. So I just decided to bring it down to just kind of a personal level and what I appreciate and what I enjoy about being able to go outside into fresh water. So, so here we have a picture of the confluence. It's oil paints. It's very different from the other things. This is kind of where I'm working now, doing a lot of plein air landscape. Some of the examples that are popping up on the screen are kind of what I'm working on, which is artists or people actually in a landscape, interacting with the landscape. So yeah, I just, I don't know. The found object pieces, those I've collected with my sons when we go cricking and fishing and all those things, just kind of stomping around. A lot of these were found, like all of these things were found in and around the Olentangy River. These were all found around the Scioto River. And then a very common fish to both of those, and usually the fish is a sign of relatively clean water, is the river red horse. And that's what this is a print of, and it's on a piece of contact paper that I found near a river. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Are there any questions?
Yeah, any comments? I noticed the way you bring out light in your paintings. What are you doing there? Tell us.
So this actually is the second version of this painting. The first version was a little bit darker. I like to capture, I love color, first of all, and there's not a whole lot of color play in the found object stuff, so with the oil paints I can go color crazy. But I like the lightness, the brightness. It's kind of gives like, I don't know, kind of hopeful. I think it has a more kind of positive vibe than maybe the found object pieces. Some of those can get a little heavy and a little dark at times. But the oil paints, I don't like using completely dark colors all the time. So, yes.
On that piece over there, the third one, how did you approach it? Did you just have a whole bunch of stuff in front of you and start slapping it on?
That's a great question. So yeah, sometimes kind of like what Gaye was saying, sometimes the pieces speak to me, sometimes they don't. And so I have bins of different materials from different areas in my garage, and I'll look through them every now and then. And sometimes like a piece will say, oh yeah, this is it. This is the time that you're going to use that. So yeah, a lot of these I just kind of picked one thing and then just kind of built off of that. So with this one, I picked this really funky piece of driftwood and then put that on there and then just kind of started building around with pieces. And then once I get it laid out, then I'll screw or nail or glue or whatever, everything down. And sometimes I take pieces off, sometimes I add more, it just depends. But yeah.
It just comes together so wonderfully, like that old license plate turned around.
Right, yeah.
Amazing. Wonderfully.
Yes.
You had a sample of the two rivers that are around here. Where have you found to be the dirtiest water?
Well, that Olentangy one's pretty gnarly. So, but that was super close to campus. I think I have a sample that is further up in Delaware, and it's cleaner. But yeah, that's pretty gross.
Is this iron run down here at the bicentennial area?
Yes, and I was amazed at how clean it was. And actually, when this thing was in my sunroom, that little root started sprouting new sprouts, which was pretty sweet. I did these hoping that I would just see all kinds of awesome life swimming around, and it was exciting for about a week, and then just kind of nothing
I
happened.
was intrigued with the Scioto one because I worked in landscaping back in 18 for the city, and we'd go down on the river and clean, the banks and stuff. It was disgusting. I cannot believe that water is that clean.
It's amazing. When I first moved to Columbus after I graduated, the Olentangy was nasty. I just remember people saying, oh, don't. So I never fished in it. I didn't walk in it. You could smell it from Como Park. You could smell it before you even got to it. And I'm amazed at how much both of those rivers are turning around in really not a whole lot of time. I mean, it's been about 20 years, and they're getting a lot better. So it's crazy the amount of drinking water that comes from both of those rivers. So it's a good thing that we're getting them back above board.
Rob, thank you. Rob Jones.
For sure.
It was wonderful.
Thank you.
Right. Catherine Bell Smith,
Now,
come forward.
really interesting. I come from Cleveland. I moved there in 1961, and the atmosphere and the water was horrible. I mean, every time I looked out to the, to the west, all you could see was an orange haze over the city. And you couldn't swim in the lake. Lake Erie, it was just awful. And since then, I mean, so many, we've just buckled down and really become aware of our environment and made the changes that we need to make. We need to do much more, much more. But I'm just astounded that we actually could do that, that we managed to kind of undo some of our mistakes. Yeah. It can be done.
Fire?
Yeah, that was the Cuyahoga River, and it didn't do it just once, it did it several times. And there were other rivers around that had the same notoriety, but yeah, there was so much industry. The steel mills up there were just dumping everything into the river, and then of course it was flowing out into the lake, which made it not usable. But yeah.
Are you going to share with us some of your images here?
Oh, sure. Okay, so
Yes.
I just thought it might be interesting to see a little bit of an evolution of some of my work. So when I got back into making art after leaving for a few years, like 20, I had been working in my garden a lot and learning how to make things grow or help things grow, and developing a curiosity about nature and how things all fit together and the different systems. And so one of the things that struck me was sycamore bark, because it would fall off the trees in July and lay on the ground. And I wanted to do a little research about that, and like, why does this tree exfoliate whereas most other trees just grow? And I kind of like the idea of the tree showing us its growth. Because a lot of times we think growth is gross, or as we age, like we don't want to see that. That we just want it to go away. But the tree just made evidence about growth. So I created this piece. It's called Ascension, and it's essentially like rebuilding the tree, showing the forms of the trees and then how the bark falls down at the bottom. So that was just me learning about materials and trying to use them to express a concept. And then sort of like push that a little bit further, and I made these what I call halo pieces, and they're actually the same concept about trees that drop things, but now the tree isn't present anymore, so it's just kind of a halo of something that had taken place, so a record of it, and the tree was kind of a ghost image with just the copper in the center. So the one before this was sycamore bark. This is Kentucky coffee tree pods and their seeds. And I use these materials a lot. They're they intrigue me. So go ahead and switch. And then this is catalpa pods. So again, with it wasn't the bark that was being exfoliating, but every year these trees drop these the seed pods. As they fall, they open, and the seeds are blown around. So all of those things kind of intrigued me, and I thought I wasn't really considering myself an environmental artist. I was just curious about nature, and it started teaching me things about appreciation and about systems and about taking care of. And so this is catalpa pods, and that piece then led me to thinking, can I do something more permanent with these pieces, with these pods? And that's when I developed the mosaics. You can flip to the next one. Oh, okay.
You want to keep going? I'm not sure if it got out of order.
No, that's good.
Okay?
Yeah, so this is that piece there that's on the wall. And I had decided that I was going to try to experiment and do these pieces. Sure, do these pieces called, I call them mosaics. Probably not the best term for it, but I still haven't come up with a better one. So instead of just assembling the pieces on the floor and keeping them loose, I decided to create a wall piece. So each one of these strands is a piece of a catalpa pod. And then I included things like red pine bark, and these are trumpet vine pods. And then I also decided to start using the plastics. And then I realized, I think I'm talking about the environment. I think maybe I'm an environmental artist. I don't know. So then I started pushing that concept a little bit, and that's when like recycling plastic bags. And weaving them into these. And Gaye was talking about the plastics in the water. I had heard about they're called gyres that are in the oceans. They are actually collections of plastic and netting and bottles and bags and things like that are just sort of finding each other and collecting. And so that's what these pieces are in this actual piece called Current. So I just tried to work with the concept of flow and movement and using the catalpods to create that. And then including the plastic, just to kind of bring it back around to trying to be more aware of what we use and what we get rid of, and how we do that. Yep.
On top of that, they keep it, I don't know, trying to cut, what do you put on top of it? Keep it trying colors or whatever?
I'm sorry, what?
What do you put on top of that after you do your art piece? You seal it with something?
What, you mean the ceiling? How do, yeah. Yes, it's probably about 2 coats of an acrylic, and then on top of that is I think it's called polyacrylic. So it's just about 5 layers to protect it. Just building it up and making sure that it's touchable, because I think my work should be touchable. You can all touch it. I give you permission. Yes.
Well, Catherine, I noticed how you befriend plastic. As you were saying, you bring it together and create art from it. That's inspiring.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be something that we can do. You know, there's that, reuse, repurpose, recycle thing. And so I just thought that there would be, it's in some ways, it's a little jarring to have all these natural materials and then include something that is not natural. But they're, maybe seeing it in this context gives you an appreciation for it and what we need to do, what we can do with it, so that it's not just sitting in our oceans. Yep.
Where did you find all the materials that were used in that they want us to use?
I have, so she asked where I find the materials. I actually do a lot of walking for my health. And so I find places throughout the city. And all of these catalpods, I would say 90% of the catalpods that I have are from one tree. And it's at Fort Hayes campus. And there's just one giant catalpa tree that drops these pods, and it's usually during spring break when the kids are gone. So I go in and I just collect them all. They last forever, and then of course they're protected after I have manipulated them. And they're just glued down, so it's like one pod next to another, next to another. And it's a matter of you kind of coerce it to go in a curve. Some of them are naturally curved anyway, so that's what inspires it, and then I try to just push it a little bit further. So yeah, out walking, I found I saw this tree, and I thought, what are those things hanging from it? And in the spring, they're just like long green beans.
Yeah.
And then the tree has these amazingly fragrant flowers on it, and so I just saw that, and I got curious about it, so I did some research about it, and then I found a place where I could actually collect them. So yeah, and it's not like they've already by the time I get them, they've already dumped all their seeds. They've all blown away. So I feel like it's okay that I collect these, and that's pretty much where I get all my material. It's all discarded. It's all done already. Yeah.
I was thinking with your emphasis on the sycamore tree, amazing. I was in Israel in November, and in Jericho particularly, and the story of Zacchaeus up in the sycamore tree? Mm-hmm. And in your reflection, the continuity, the ongoing life of a tree like that, and how you're expressing your art through it is wonderful.
Jeff, if you switch to the next image, so this is all sycamore bark on this. And so I took the concept that I did, or the process that I used for that piece over there, Current, and I created these. So that's all different types of sycamore bark in their varied colored states.
Amazing.
And then a vine.
What is that, too?
And there's the next one.
A mere 2,000 years ago, made reference to it. Huh? How many thousands more must the life of the trees be among us, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
And the last one then, and this is the last piece that I did
yeah.
using the catalpa pods and the vines.
Yeah.
And this has the sycamore bark in it as well.
Oh. Well, Catherine Bell Smith, that was wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to talk about the seeds blowing away and whenever the seeds blow away on the seeds blow. Have you ever got to them in time to see some of the seeds and use them in art?
Yes. When I didn't jump into doing work this size. I started with really small pieces. And the seeds were all included in that. They're just very tiny, tiny seeds. Again, you don't want to take all of them. If you take a third, you're okay. You're being responsible and you're collecting. But yeah, I have used these seeds in some of my pieces and other seeds, yeah.
Are those seeds useful for anything?
Would they grow catalpa trees?
They don't use them for anything else?
Well, I'm sure that something might nibble on them, like as they do. Yeah, the thing about catalpa trees, I told you, I've collected them all from one tree. Well, the whole ground probably, I don't know size. But it would be like maybe a quarter of an acre is filled with the pods from one tree. If you're trying, I would never want to plant one in my garden, but they're fine out in the wild or in a place like the campus that's large, But yeah, so the seeds are amazing. They're tall, they're long and thin, and then they have these little frayed edges which catch the wind and blow. Yeah.
Well, Catherine, this is wonderful. Thank you so much. Sure.
And just a quick reminder, if
Katrina?
anybody has a comment or question, we're going to try to catch
Yes.
it on the microphone so that we can catch it for everyone. So
Oh.
thank you.
Yeah.
Katrina Fuller, come forward here. Your wonderful work.
Yes, so the piece that I did for this exhibit,
Talk into.
my parents are from Michigan. My mother is from Flint, Michigan, and the piece that I did for this exhibit was inspired about that. Growing up summers, I would just be in Flint all the time, and so when the Flint water crisis happened, I have definitely, unfortunately, have consumed that water before the finding out of how toxic the water was. And so since finding that out, I've been really stuck in how I was going to express my frustration and express the issues that it's caused my family and stuff like that. And so the piece that I have in exhibit, which is on the other side of this wall, expresses that. But I am a mixed media artist. The piece behind me is I was commissioned to do a 4-pod mural at Easton for Black History Month and Women's Health Month. Because they're right next to each other, did pieces about that. And so this is a mural that I did there. Most of my work is very personal and emotional, connected to me. This piece was not, but it was really cool. It's of Made Me More, which is a park that I grew up at and played at, so it's kind of connected if you want to switch to the next. Yes?
What colors do you like working with?
Oh, I love colors. Yellow is my favorite color, as you see my bag. I absolutely love yellows and oranges and pinks, and so I try to use those as much as possible.
See how you're using the yellow,
The mic.
you know. I see how you're using the yellow in this piece in the back of you, and how you're having the halo. The halo.
Yes, and so with this piece was an exhibit that I was in. The inside pieces of the body is mirror, and so I had to break up mirror and kind of curve it, and yes.
The inside of the body.
The microphone, we
So
want to hear you.
They want you to speak closer in the mic.
The inside of the body where you got the gray, it looks like stone.
Yeah, it's actually mirror.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, if you want to.
Next one.
In a lot of my pieces, you'll see this dotted pattern. I call them cadences. My first art form is music, and cadence is basically a rhythm. And I think of like the cadence is the dotted path as like the rhythm to the piece and also to our soul. Because, you know, we have a heartbeat and we all have our internal rhythm. And so I like to use that to show that. Yes.
Just kind of a comment about. Thank you. A comment about that. I'd love, first of all, that's the first time I ever heard that that's where you started, was in music. And I love the idea of cadence. And every time I've seen your work, I think of the rhythm that you create with your brush strokes. And it's so evident. And I thought that, you know, like that just all tied it in for me. It really began to make more sense. Not that it didn't make sense, but it kind of, it deepened my awareness and understanding of the way you work. They're beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so, yes.
I probably don't need one. I was going to ask you, what part of music? Do you play an instrument? What was it about music that captured your spirit first?
So I sing, so I'm a vocalist, and post-high school, I did start to like study opera and stuff like that.
Singing?
I'm not an opera singer, but I've always loved singing and yeah.
Wonderful.
And like I grew up doing like musical theater and stuff like that, and so it is a way that I still sing. I'm in a band, but it's a way that I get to connect the two.
Yeah, it definitely takes the inside of you and brings it out to share. It's a great way to express yourself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a phrase or a word that you could sing for us?
Oh gosh. Can you believe? So that,
Oh,
yeah.
magnifique. Wonderful. Thank you.
But yeah, you can go to the next one.
Gazing at the painting while you were singing was wonderful.
Oh, yeah. So another thing that I also do is I'll do like live paintings. So with my job, so like I said, I work for Transit Arts. We had collaborated with this jazz trio. So I got to live paint in front of the jazz trio. And this was a piece that came out of it. And so I incorporated some of their instrumentations and just showing how like music flows in and out of us. So yeah. And I think there's just one more this is another piece, and it incorporates music as well. If you're familiar with the opera Porgy and Bess, which is one of the first Black operas, and is by Gershwin, who I absolutely adore, and I really love Ella Fitzgerald's rendition of that, and so that is this piece. So yeah. And then actually there is one more that I remember. Yes. So sometimes I don't do a ton of portraits, but sometimes I do. And this is a portrait of my sister, who I absolutely adore. She's one of my favorite people. And so she graduated in fashion design, and so she works a lot with neutrals and grays and warm colors. And so when she graduated school, I gave her this. So, yeah, that is me. Thank you.
Katrina, I was just thinking, the call to call young people to have the self-confidence to work in art. That is such a gift, because the first thought is, I can't do that, I can't do that. But I can sense from you, you're an encourager.
Oh, yeah. Around my belief, like when we're children, we aren't really afraid of the word no. By the time we're like teenagers, 16, 20, no has really set in, and the fear of rejection is really present. But with our program, we start at 12, so just seeing them go through the process and willing to accept no, and like accept that failure happens, and we're a place where their mistakes are accepted, and they're really allowed to be free and express themselves. I grew up in arts programs, and so it was really informative for me, and so to be able to pass that on and be informative and help people, young people, to develop themselves has always been a love of mine.
Well, let's open this up for conversation, and in the last few minutes, we'll go around and look at your work on the other side of this wall. Oh, it's wonderful. Katrina, that's great. So you can lead us in the last 5 minutes or so with that. But let's hear...
Yes, I just knew it. I could read it in your eyes.
Yeah, I can read your eyes. I have a question for all on the panel. If each one could address this, what was your most challenging piece of work to do, either commission or just whatever it affect you in a strong personal way that may have been a challenge to, like, you know, I'm not quite feeling it, and maybe another day you did it, and then, but it kept speaking, it kept wanting to come out and to pour out of you. So that's what I wanted to know.
Okay, I guess I'll go first.
Another mic, so.
I'll say the most, some of the most challenging pieces that I've worked on is dealing with different like health issues and like different things that I've gone through or other family have gone through. The mirror piece that I showed has a sister piece that deals with inside issues, and through that piece I talk about a miscarriage and just doing work about that and how like miscarriages and some other things are so taboo to talk about, and so that was one of the hardest pieces that I had to create.
I feel like I struggle the most with doing commission work. If when I first started showing artwork, I would take any commission because, you know, it's money and whatever. Would really struggle with that if I didn't have a connection to the subject. that I was doing, and a lot of the times those ended up being some of my least favorite pieces. Even, I do the best I could, but just wasn't quite feeling it. And now I have people ask me to do something and I am not interested in it, I just say no. So avoid that.
I think I agree with that. No, I do agree with that. I think the hardest thing for me is when someone wants me to create something. And sometimes it's a theme for a show. Sometimes it's, can you draw this real quick? I don't respond well with that. So if I'm more in my head and doing the work that I feel is important and worthy, I guess, of my time and attention, that flows very easily. So I don't know. It's like it's just like when I'm in my head, when I'm in my studio, when I'm working on a subject or a piece that I feel is very, very important. Like there's something I've got to get out. That's easier for me. But when somebody from the outside offers me a challenge or a theme, it's not the easiest thing for me. It's jarring. I won't say that I don't learn from it. It's like just because it's difficult doesn't mean I don't want to do it. It's just kind of another aspect of being an artist. So that sometimes you're asked to do things and you're not in your own flow. You have to jump into somebody else's flow. Challenging, but I think broadening and deepening.
Ditto, ditto. There's nothing like a commission to kill your creative spirit. I'm sorry. It just kills the buzz.
Entourage contra, working against something and then getting all the more from it.
There you go.
Yeah, wonderful.
This is a follow-up to what you were all just saying, but this entire exhibit was a suggestion by someone, and for your work to be included in it, you had to generate a concept in order to make the work. What sort of techniques do you use to create those sorts of just idea-generating issues within yourself?
It was already a passion for me.
Well, I won't say that it wasn't a passion for me, but and because it's dealing with the environment, that made it a little bit easier. But I research the heck out of things. I find books. I go online. I just kind of throw all of this at myself, and then somehow let that kind of sift in for a little while, and then I pull out my sketchbook. Well, maybe my sketchbook's out already and I'm jotting down notes, but then ideas come and I just start sketching little thumbnail sketches in my sketchbook, which is with me all the time. So even after years and years and years, artists rely on their sketchbooks, and sometimes I'll flip back into something, like years ago, when I'm really bereft of ideas, and it'll pop out at me. And so that's just part of that process, I think. But yeah, lots of research. I read all kinds of books about water and like preserving water and reservoirs and all, things like that, and groundwater. All of those things affected me. So they're maybe not evident in this piece, but it's all in here. Yeah.
Same thing. Tons of research, notes. Usually start off with like a really big idea that will sprout off into a bunch of smaller ideas, and then just kind of that old adage, you throw it to the wall and see what sticks kind of thing. So, but yeah, tons of research.
On the same, I always start with Google. I was like, what is water? And then go and look at like different water arts, or I'll read water poems and stuff like that. And then I was like, duh, Flint. And so there came
Well,
from
let's
that.
follow you around to your work and celebrate this time with your amazing contrast that you have put into your, what, you call it mixed media painting?
Yeah.
Let's follow Katrina.
So majority of the pieces that I have created have been made for an exhibit, which includes this piece. And so the thought with this one is, this is a water goddess, and it is the before and after the poisoning of her water. And yeah, so
Tell us how you went about that.
So I started with the figure, and I started working on the background and stuff, and when I was getting to like the body of her, I was really stuck on what I was going to do with it. At first I painted it, and then I was at another artist friend's studio, and they had a piece where they had like 6 pieces, and they were all connected through with yarn. And I looked at it, I was like, Eureka, I'm gonna make the dress out of yarn, and I also knit. And so I've been wanting to figure out how to incorporate like knitting and yarn and the materials that you use for that with my paintings. And so I've created this.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really great. It's great movement and the texture.
Yes.
And I like that it comes from another thing that you do for yourself. The singing and then the knitting or
Yeah.
crocheting or whatever you do with the yarn. And then all of these things are coming together in a piece. And the colors are amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, originally it was going to be just the singular piece with this first one. I originally started with this one, and the moon was different. And then as I was sitting and looking at it, as we were getting closer and closer to the exhibit, I was like, it's missing something, and I was like, it needs a reflection. And so afterwards, I created the other side.
And that other side is water deprived.
Yeah, so it's murky, it's dirty, it's been poisoned, there's chemicals in it. It's unusable.
Yes, you can see it in her eyes. Ah.
Yeah, I really wanted to have her expression and be like, how dare you? Like,
yes.
I can't believe it, so.
Thank you, Katrina. Thank you. Thank you, Rob. That was wonderful. Catherine Bell, thank you. And where's?
Gaye's over there.
There she is, Gaye Reissland, thank you. Wasn't that a time of celebrating the gift of water, life? Let's do another. Clean air, life. Are you willing to go through that, Catherine? You bet. Thank you. Take care.